G'day, g'day, you saucy little Vegemite munchers. It's Tozzarino here. Welcome. Today we're going to be taking a look at my comic book collection because I always enjoy watching people show off their collection and talk about it, and I wanted to do the same. Now, admittedly, mates, mine is not quite as big as some of the other creators out there. It's modest. I would say I have a modest collection, but I have a deep love for a lot of these books, even some of the shit ones, which we will get into. So yeah, I'm gonna be talking about specifically the trade paperbacks and like the collections that I have, not the single issues. I have a lot of single issues. Yeah, I have them off to the side. Looking at them, yeah, there's no way I'm gonna do a single issues edition of this. I already have a lot of comics. Yeah, we're gonna get into that in a second. But I want to clarify first off, this is mostly Marvel and DC stuff. I mostly read Marvel and DC. I have some other stuff here, which we could get into at the end. Depending on how long this part of the video goes, I might split it into two for Marvel and DC, depending on how much I have to say. I don't want to front load you with like a super long video or anything. I have reread most of these books fairly recently, like within the last 6 months or so, but others, my memory is a bit foggy, no Nelson on, so forgive me if I don't go into too much detail on some of these, but yeah, we're going to get into it, and we're going to start this with the Marvel side of the collection, which, as you may notice, a little bigger than the DC side. So without further ado, Toz, take it away. Let's cut to the comic angle. Wow, brand new angle. It's it's the Marvel comics. This is just my bed. I put them on my bed because it's the only part of my room where I have enough space to put all of this stuff. Yeah. I had them in general alphabetic order, but then removing them and organizing them for this, I realized that it was going to take a bit. So we're just going to kind of go pile by pile here, just to make things a little harder for myself. So without further ado, let's get into it. We're going to start All New X-Men, Volume 1 by Brian Michael Bendis. I have a lot of Bendis in my collection. I'm now realizing I have a lot of Bendis. But yeah, this is the beginning of his run on New X-Men. And it's not a bad introduction. The general premise here is that basically the younger versions of the original 5 X-Men are brought to the present day to kind of witness their future selves and to try and talk Cyclops out of his whole mutant revolutionary phase. Pretty fun read. I got this, I think, like 8 or 9 years ago, maybe longer. It's a very solid book. I love this cover, by the way, just the classic X-Men in their original uniforms. It's nice. I wouldn't say it's incredible. I think it's a firm, like, 6 out of 10 book. Get it if you like X-Men or you like Bendis, but yeah, it's alright, it's a solid book, it's a solid book. Avengers Rage of Ultron. This is, I think for me, the quintessential modern Ultron story. Everything present here is just incredible. I love the way the narrative switches back and forth between different time periods, and in particular, I love the way that Ultron and Hank Pym's relationship is depicted here. They really lean into the father-son dynamic here, which I do love immensely. The artwork here is also just sublime. It's a great read. This is just a terrific Ultron story. I adore it. Read it if you can. I don't know what the hell this is. I've had this for a very long time, and I still don't know what that is. Could someone let me know? Thanks. Captain America, The Death of Captain America. This is a pretty recent pickup. It was written by Ed Brubaker, who I think does a lot of tremendous work. I love his stuff with Gotham Central. This is a terrific read. It's also a bit of a hefty read, too. This covers the post-Civil War death of Steve Rogers, and then subsequently Bucky eventually taking up the mantle of Captain America. It's a very well-done thriller. I think every part of it just comes together perfectly. The supporting cast are used really effectively. I was surprisingly a big fan of Agent 13 in this, Sharon Carter. Just great stuff all around. Seeing how everyone kind of deals with their grief around Steve's death is pretty effective. And seeing Bucky kind of have to step up was just, it's terrific stuff. It's terrific stuff. My only real critique is that sometimes when they cut away to the villains of this story, I'm not going to spoil who the villain is just in case you want to read this, but every time it cut to the villains, it kind of felt a little cheesy, almost. Maybe that was intentional, but it would always kind of just give me some major whiplash. But yeah, it's a terrific read. I mean, there's a lot of great artwork in here as well. Yeah, oh, okay, well, I said I wasn't going to spoil it, I just showed. Oh, sorry guys, yeah, I'm not professional, but yeah, it's a great book, very hefty book. Check it out. This is a library book from a library in my hometown that I grew up in. That library, I don't think exists anymore. Anyway, Captain America Forever Allies is another Bucky Cap story. The only two Captain America solo books I have are Bucky Cap stories, but this centers around Bucky reuniting with a bunch of older former war friends who kind of teenage, like, adventurers, soldiers sort of things, and kind of coming together and acknowledging that and dealing with their history together. It's a pretty heavy read. It's also got in the back here some like old 40s issues of this comic, which I assume is obviously a real comic, and they just updated the characters for the modern part of the story. But it's a really great way of bringing the two time periods together. You get flashbacks throughout, you get some great development. I love the art style changes too. I love how sort of stylized the 40s stuff is. Like, I absolutely love how just poppy and frenetic it looks. It's a great underrated read. I don't hear many people talk about this at all. It's a great book. I absolutely love it. It's terrific stuff. Alright, jumping all over the place. Uncanny X-Men, The Dark Phoenix Saga. I got this shortly before watching X-Men Dark Phoenix in theaters, which is kind of funny. I mean, this is classic, Claremont era, X-Men. I think this is the conclusion of the Phoenix Saga, pretty much. We get to see the Hellfire Club in action here. Mastermind is surprisingly a very effective villain here. Obviously, there's a lot of great iconic moments throughout. The artwork here by Byrne is just terrific. Just classic peak 80s X-Men stuff. Just good work. I love this era of X-Men. I love the Claremont era of X-Men. Even its rougher qualities. It's great. It's a great book. Ultimate Spider-Man Fallout. So this is a collection of like mini issues that deal with the death of Ultimate Spider-Man. Which is funny because I haven't read all of Ultimate Spider-Man. I have this, and as you'll see in a minute, I have Volume 1. But I think it's a surprisingly reflective read. It's not perfect. There are some segments here where I'm like, what the fuck is going on here? Like, some character dynamics that I'm obviously missing out on. But oh, there's a helicopter going past. Sorry about that. It's also, Cap is caked up. But yeah, I think it's honestly a really solid read. It shows how much an impact that this version of Spider-Man had. I love the scene where the little girl is talking to Aunt May and tells her about how Spider-Man saved her from a fire. That's a really, like, a poignant moment. And it's one of the reasons that I love Ultimate Spider-Man so much, and I would love to read the rest of it. And speaking of Ultimate Spider-Man, I have Ultimate Spider-Man The Ultimate Collection, Volume 1. I have multiple different versions of the first, 10 issues of this book. I remember back when I was, 10 or 11, maybe I had a different Volume 1, which only had the first 7 issues. This let me see. This is up to issue 13. This is great stuff. Every single modern adaptation or depiction of Spider-Man comes from this book. I know everyone glazes it as, this is where you should start reading Spider-Man. I don't necessarily agree with that, because what Ultimate Spider-Man does well is that it takes the classic Spider-Man setups and it subverts them. If you read the original Ditko era, Peter doesn't really have friends in high school, whereas here he already has Harry and MJ as friends, and all the little twists with the villains. Kingpin in this book, this is a top-tier Kingpin. Bendis knows how to do Kingpin. This motherfucker knows how to do Kingpin very effectively. He feels like a real force of nature here. Mark Bagley's art is also just beautiful. I love how the characters look in this book. Spider-Man in particular, his fucking big head and his wide eyes. It's just a very nostalgic book, which is weird because I wasn't alive in the year 2000. Sorry to instantly date this video, but I adore it. It feels like such a beautiful time capsule, but Spider-Man himself here is written very effectively. It doesn't come off as dated. There are some era-appropriate references here and there, but for the most part, it is generally kind of timeless in some areas, and I think that's really a big commendation to Brian Michael Bendis' writing. This is the best Ultimate Marvel book from the 2000s, and I cannot wait to get my hands on the rest of this series at some point. Terrific stuff. Alright, now we're going to wham out the triple whammies, the Penguin Classics Marvel Collection. Now, I don't know if these are just an Australia-only thing or a Europe-only thing, but these are essentially these big, thick motherfuckers that collect a bunch of great early storylines. So it'll have like issue 1, but then it won't, it'll jump around a bit. Like, for example, this Fantastic Four collection features the Galactus trilogy. Side note, I think this is the best of the 3 that I have. There are more. I think they did one for Black Panther as well, which I don't have. There's an X-Men one, which I don't think I'm going to get because I don't really like the early X-Men stuff. But the Fantastic Four one is great because it does a good job at showing the beginning of this universe. And also, I think the Galactus trilogy really holds up in a modern lens. Remarkable science fiction writing there, classic stuff. And then we have the Avengers one, which I think is probably the weakest. I don't love Wasp's characterization early on. She's very much either damsel in distress or very horny for everyone that isn't her husband or boyfriend. I don't think they were married at the time. But, there's still a lot of great art here. This book in particular, it goes up to the Roy Thomas era, and so you get the introduction of Vision, which I think is the highlight of this book. Yeah, it's great stuff. And also in between some of the issues, there will be like interludes talking about the time period or just era-related things that add context to the books. And then, of course, we have Spider-Man, which is pretty great stuff. I don't really have a specific highlight from the Spider-Man one. I think all of it's generally pretty great. You get some Green Goblin stuff, you get the origin, you get the origin, you get Chameleon, you get a lot of great stuff here. Yeah, these 3, these are hefty. If you have these in America or wherever you are, let me know. I don't think these are Australia exclusive or Europe exclusive. Could be wrong, though. Could be wrong. But yeah, great books if you can get them. Oh, geez. Spider-Man and Spider-Gwen. I didn't even bother ripping the price tag off this when I got it. I got this, I think, in like 2018, maybe. Yeah, this is the first Miles Morales book that I ever read. It's alright. You get some alternate reality stuff here and there. I love the artwork for a lot of it, but it's a generally kind of unremarkable story, traveling to different universes. It's very much like a Spider-Verse kind of grab-in or whatever. I don't love it. It's not great. Bendis, it's not great. Sorry. Matters of Life and Death is a pretty great book. This is another library book. And it covers, the return of the Spider Slayer and the new Scorpion, and Agent Venom gets a couple stuff here. But what I really love about this is the post-death of Marla Jameson stuff, where you get this really great, mournful chapter of Spider-Man in a big dream sequence having to come to terms with all the people around him that have died. I think that's terrific stuff. I think that's some of Dan Slott's best. The rest of the book is pretty solid, but really that's the main attraction for me. Just that whole segment there. I like Scorpion's design here. I love how clunky he looks. It's a fun book. This storyline does come back, actually, in another book later on in this video. But yeah, it's a good read. It's fun. You get a little Fantastic Four at the end as well. It's not bad. Dan Slott, you could do a lot worse. Deadpool Agent X Epic Collection by Gail Simone. This is the first major time I tried to read Deadpool. I have other Deadpool stuff. This is the first time I have a run. This collects the complete Agent X series, and I think it's a lot of fun. Because what starts as a standard Deadpool story quickly gets a little fucking freaky. Deadpool seemingly comes back from this big event, but he has his memory wiped, and so he thinks he's this other guy named Agent X, and you have Taskmaster as a pretty fun recurring character, and, these guys are there too. It's a fun, energetic book. Admittedly, a lot of the humor, I think, is dated in certain areas. It can be a little cringe at times, but I love the stylized artwork here. It's almost like manga-esque, like how to draw manga 101 type shit, but it's good. I enjoy it. I think it's a fun read. It did take me like a week to read because I wasn't really engaged too heavily in the main storyline. It was just a fun book. Gail Simone is an artist that I think has many ups, but also many downs. This is a crisp middle. It's pretty fun, but not remarkable. You don't have to go out of your way for this, but I think it's a fun read. Daredevil Underboss. This is the most recent thing I have bought, and it's the most recent thing I have read. This is the beginning of Bendis' run on Daredevil, and it is fucking spectacular. You start off with this kind of fun, albeit generally forgettable mini-series about Daredevil fighting some ninjas or whatever, but the real crux of the book comes in with the the various trials that we go through here. Matt, at one point, Matt and Foggy get hired to sue Daredevil, which is a very fun storyline where Matt has to get a lawyer for himself and then also, go against his own means. And of course, Kingpin gets some good play here. The supporting cast get a lot to do. I love the artwork here. For me, I think the highlight is probably there's a storyline early on in the book with Ben Urich trying to help this traumatized little boy. I'm not going to say too much about it because I do think this has to be read. I fucking adore the style and the artwork here. There's this almost dreamlike quality to it, and I think that Ben Urich here is utilized so effectively. I absolutely love this little story. I think it's only a couple issues long, but it's a remarkable part of the book, and it handles its subject matter with a level of sensitivity that I really do respect. Bendis the GOAT. This book cements it. I will definitely be reading the rest of his run. That's for damn sure. Daredevil Last Rites. This was a Christmas gift from my mate, and was also the first Daredevil book I've ever owned. I've read Daredevil before, but I've never owned a Daredevil book. It's alright. You get some fun stuff here. Matt is responsible for some orphans, and that's fun, kind of. We get into supernatural territory here, which I don't love. I don't love when Daredevil gets too supernatural. Like here, he's fighting one of the seven sins or whatever. I don't love this. I don't love it. The artwork here is pretty great, though. Bullseye gets a little play later on in the book, which I like. Let me see if I can find it. There's a moment here where Bullseye just tries to murder Foggy. Yeah. He has his arm torn off and he immediately tries to just kill Foggy. And I love that. It's a very in-character moment for him. But, it's an okay book, at best. It's nothing special. It's kind of a letdown, to be honest. But, it's alright, I guess. And now we have Daredevil Born Again. The Premier Collection, the Marvel Premier Collections, and the DC Compact Comics have really helped me get my hands on some books that I've wanted to read, but haven't been able to find here. Born Again is remarkable. It is a remarkable book. You get a little intro by Charlie Cox here, which I like. Frank Miller, I love Frank Miller's early work. I mean, everybody does. But I think this might be my favorite thing he's written. The way Matt's life just continues falling into deeper shit throughout the book, and you see how truly paranoid and manic he can get. The artwork here is incredible. The coloring is splendid. Kingpin is such a rotten little motherfucker here, and Ben Urich gets a lot of play as well. I'm finding that Ben Urich is one of my favorite supporting characters in comics. You get some Captain America. Captain America shows up for a little bit, and that's nice. It's just a really fun read, and it's really unique, and everybody cites this as like the best Daredevil book, and it's for a good reason. It's a remarkable read. Read it. God, read it if you haven't. It's so fucking good, mate. Guardians of the Galaxy Cosmic Avengers. This is another Bendis. I have a lot of Bendis. Drinking game. Take a shot every time I say the word Bendis here. From what I can gather, I think this came out shortly before the first movie, and it's sort of a relaunch for the book. You get Star-Lord's origin, you get some antics in here. That's pretty fine. It's a pretty serviceable read. I like Bendis' characterization for Peter Quill here. This is when Quill started to become, I guess, more in line with his movie counterpart, which is very hit and miss for some people, but I think it's a solid enough read. And you get some Guardian stuff at the end here. You get Iron Man as a part of the group. I hate this fucking armor. I really hate it. But, it's alright, Unremarkable, I would say. Here we have Guardians, I think 2008. Written by Dan Abnett. This is pretty peak. This is before the movies, and so naturally the characters here behave differently. I think it's a fun read. I haven't read this in a while, admittedly, but I remember really enjoying it when I first read it. You get kind of a good flavor for the Guardians universe. You get some Cosmo the Space Dog, you get some Drax action, you get, Star-Lord is funny, but he's not like, Chris Pratt quipping. It's a really solid read. I kind of miss this type of Guardians book. I love the movies, don't get me wrong, I adore the movies, but I do miss kind of this version of the team. they're rough around the edges, sure, but I mean, yeah, they're very likable. This is a great book. It's a great collection. Fantastic Four Solve Everything Premiere Collection. This is the first Premiere Collection book I got. I got this at Oz Comic Con last year. Shout out Oz Comic Con. And it's really terrific stuff. I like Jonathan Hickman a lot. I've been getting into his work fairly recently, and his Fantastic Four is pretty good. I will say, I found out later on that apparently this leaves out a lot of stuff from this storyline, which, to be honest, didn't affect me too much during, my first reading of it. Like, it's still very obvious what's happening. But yeah, there are some details that are left out. Like you'll get these sort of recaps, which I don't know if those are because something was cut out or not. But I think it's a really solid time. You get a lot of great dramatic stuff here. Each member of the family kind of gets their time to shine. You get Reed meeting his alternate versions. We get the Council of Reed, so we get, Johnny's big hero moment as well, which is great. Sue gets to, go at it with Namor a little bit and put him in his place. I love that. He's such a scumbag. But yeah, this is a pretty great book. I do kind of want to just read the full version of it, but the Premiere Collection of it isn't bad. It's pretty good. Deadpool Kills the Marvel Universe. Yeah, this is the first Deadpool book I ever got. I think it was back in, 2015 or something, shortly before the movie came out. I loved it at the time. I thought it was, peak. But, yeah, it's not held up that well. It's very obviously just kind of edgy schlock. He fucking blows Spider-Man's head off. Whatever. He just kills a bunch of the superheroes. And that's kind of it. There's not really a lot of substance here. I would say skip this unless you really want to see Spider-Man get his fucking head blown off, or have Beast get skinned and turned into a coat, or whatever. I don't think it's worth a read. I've heard the follow-ups are better. Yeah, I don't know. I got this when I was 13, and for what it's worth, if you're a 13-year-old, it's pretty fun. Deadpool First. So this is just a compendium of different first issues of Deadpool comics. So you have the first issue of the original stuff, and you have Deadpool Corps and New Mutants, Cable and Deadpool. It's just a sampling platter, basically. You get a bunch of first issues of different runs, and you can, I guess, kind of decide which one's your favorite. I think my favorite was probably the 97 Deadpool book. I love the art here too. It's very fun and poppy. I love how manic Deadpool's expressions can get here too. It's great stuff. Deadpool's fucked up in this early run, low key. He's keeping Blind Owl hostage. That's fucked up. Deadpool as a character is kind of sick and twisted. But a lot of modern books just make him funny, which I mean I get it, but still, it's also interesting because the closer we get to the modern day, the less funny I find Deadpool in this book, which, that's kind of how it goes, I guess. A lot of his humor, you can really see how Deadpool's humor kind of changes over time with this book, because sometimes it's very well written, and then other times they fall into kind of reference schlock, in my opinion. Yeah, I don't know, it's like a good sampling platter. It's like going and getting a bunch of entrees from a restaurant. It's not bad. You can kind of pick and choose where you want to go from here, and I do like that. Fucking didn't even rip the price tag off. Good one, idiot. Iron Man Rings of the Mandarin. This is volume 5 of this particular run. I found this at an op shop for $3, which is really great. It's kind of why I got it. But you get a fun sort of mystical story here where Iron Man faces off against the fucking Dark Elves for some reason. It's a fun sort of myth meets science storyline here. There's some shit about Tony Stark having a brother, don't really care much for. But yeah, Malachite the Accursed is going after the 10 rings. He's killing people who have the 10 rings and he's taking them. And so Iron Man ends up going to, I think, Svartalheim. It's a fun book. I don't love Iron Man as a character. I like him because of the movies. But having actually read Iron Man in the comics, I don't love him in the books. This is a pretty fun read, but I'm not really going to go out of my way, I think, to collect the rest of this run, or anything leading up to it. It's fine. Fucking Indestructible Hulk. I found this one at an op shop as well. I think for $1. It's pretty fun. You get some fantasy meets adventure here as well. Thor shows up. They go to the Frost Giants realm, and they do some fun stuff. You get a little Daredevil appearance in here as well. Daredevil shows up. This is during that era where Hulk had that stupid armor. I don't really love that. But it's a fun enough read, It's generally pretty decent stuff. I like Mark Waid a lot. This is a fine book. I mean, it's got Daredevil in it, and I love Daredevil, so that's nice, I suppose. But yeah, it's alright. It's a decent enough read. Now this, I think, is the oldest comic I have in my collection. I got this from my town library when I was, I think, 7 or 8 years old, and it has stayed with me ever since, because that library has, I think, since closed down. Marvel Visionaries Peter David Volume 5 is, I think, some of the best Hulk-related stuff. You start with this storyline about the Hulk being poisoned, and he's slowly dying. It's Grey Hulk, by the way. It's Grey Hulk, which is a lot of fun. We get some dialogue with him, and he's slowly being poisoned to death, and he's having to fight different enemies, like, Abomination and Rock and Redeemer, the leader, shows up. And eventually, the main villain is Madman. This is a great showcase, I think, for some of the lesser-known Hulk villains. Like Madman. Like, I really like Madman. And he first appeared to me in my life in this book. You get a lot of great stuff here, and then obviously after that storyline wraps up, you get some one-offs. You get this great, I think it's Sam Keith doing the art for this one, where he fights Mr. Hyde just on a train. Why is he fighting Mr. Hyde on a train? It's fucking cool, that's why. And you get some stuff with the Freedom Force, the Fighting Force, Mystique, and a bunch of mutants, and Hulk gets to fuck up some mutants. And then you get a really great Defenders storyline as well, with with the Hulk getting possessed by, like, a demon, and Namor and Doctor Strange are there, and it's a lot of fun. I think this is one of the best comics in my collection. I adore it so much. Peter David's run on Hulk is incredible, pun intended. And of course we end with the return of the Green Hulk, and it is just as brutal and nightmarish as you would expect. I adore it. I adore when Hulk is allowed to be a little fucked up sometimes. And I love this book. It's so good. I will glaze this for the rest of my life. It's so fucking good. Read it if you can. Find a way to read it. Marvel Visionaries, Peter David, Volume 5. Read it. Read it if you like the Hulk. Read it if you like Marvel. Read it if you like a bit of horror. It's great. Planet Hulk. This was an absolutely diabolical op shop purchase. I found this at a new op shop near me for $3, and it's like the whole original storyline. I love the Planet Hulk animated movie. I had that when I was a kid on DVD, and I watched it a ton. And the actual comic really just emphasizes everything I love about it. Greg Pak is doing some great work here. Silver Surfer, obviously, the action here is terrific, but I love the character work that you get for the Hulk as well. He's a real solemn bloke here. I absolutely adore this book. I'm excited to read World War Hulk. I haven't read that before, but this is just remarkable. This is a great op shop purchase. If you can, go to your local op shop. You never know, you might find some comics there for pretty cheap. Another library book. This time it's Epic Collection, The Incredible Hulk, Volume number 1. This contains the first several issues of the original Hulk. So you get the origin story, you get his first encounter with supervillains, you get Fantastic Four, Avengers, all sorts of fun stuff. You get to see him turn from grey to green. That's pretty fun. Yeah, it's just a fun, cute little book. This was the first Epic Collection I ever had. The page quality, I think, has kind of gone a bit rough over the years. I've read it a lot. But it's a really fun read. It's a beautiful little time capsule of the period in which it came out in. It's fascinating to see the evolution of this character over time. Pretty solid stuff. Just remarkable early Lee goodness, Fucking Gremlin Gargoyle, that guy. Look at him. He's a funny little fella. It's a good book. I recommend it. Alright, we're nearing the end of the Marvel section. I've got this and one more pile to go. Let's do Amazing Spider-Man Big Time Complete Collection Volume 1, another library book. This is a sort of a reintroduction of sorts for the character as well. It is borderline kind of just the same as that Matter of Life and Death book, but with more stuff. In the middle, you get some Hobgoblin, which I don't really care for the Hobgoblin that much as a character, but it's fun. You get some more Agent Venom, and you get, I didn't realize this was mostly going to be the same as the Matter of Life and Death book, but, regardless, there's a lot of fun extra stuff in here. It's pretty solid. There's some fun adventure here and there. Dan Slott is at his best and worst here, I think. There's a lot of back and forth. But, it's a fun enough read. It's not bad at all. It's pretty solid. Stuff. Sorry, I don't have a lot to say on this, because I'm realizing now that a lot of it was taken from that Matter of Life and Death book. But it's not bad. It's fun. Check it out if you're interested, but I'm not going to really recommend it. Secret Avengers. This was another op shop purchase. It's fine. It's like a sort of a spy thriller thing. Clint and Natasha have secret code words that they are given to carry out secret missions that they don't remember. It's a fun little espionage book. Generally inoffensive. You know, I don't have a ton to say about this. I read it once and then just never really felt like touching it again. It's not bad by any stretch. I think the lead mystery is interesting enough to carry this book. And that's all I can say. Power Man and Iron Fist, Volume 1. This was from a local bookstore for like $10. It's a very fun, poppy book. You know, you get a sort of a revival of the Heroes for Hire setup. I adore the way that Danny and Luke are written here. They're very fun together. Their chemistry is just naturally quite compelling. I love the art style too. You know, it has such a unique look. I love comics with a particularly unique art style. And this is very fun, you know, you get some high-octane action, but also there's just a lot of great moments where it's just our heroes hanging out and talking and smacking shit. And I love that. I love it. I love the visual of Luke Cage being huge in this car. It's just really good. I feel like this would translate well to, like, an animated series from the early 2000s. Kind of gives me that vibe. But, no, it's a lot of fun. I recommend this in particular. I'm curious to find the rest of this run, because it's pretty fun. It's a pretty fun opener, you know? It's a pretty fun opener. New Avengers, Everything Dies, Jonathan Hickman. This was yet another op shop purchase for $3, and it's a pretty great start. This is, I believe, the prelude to Secret Wars, and you get to see the Illuminati kind of dealing with some incursion-related shit, and a bunch of these mysterious creatures, aliens. Really, the crux of this book is just the internal discussion and debate amongst the different characters, all the perspectives are really fascinating, you know, and then just getting to see everyone kind of clash and try and figure out how to stop the end of the world. It's really compelling. You do get a sense of scale here, like you feel the world is ending soon and we have to do something about it. I think Hickman is great at delivering these grand cosmic sort of scale and spectacle in a way that is generally digestible, but at the same time, like, you might need to read this once or twice. Because they introduced a lot of lore with these strange, like, alien creatures and shit like that. It's a lot of fun. It's a very interesting read. Speaking of read, I think that Jonathan Hickman does a really great, Reed Richards. He might be my favorite writer to have ever touched the character. Between this and, everything else he's done, great stuff. But yeah, it's just a very compelling book. Read it. If you can. You know what? Read it before Avengers Doomsday comes out. You never know. It could be relevant. Marvel Superheroes Secret Wars. I got this, like, last Christmas at King's Comics. Shout out King's Comics in Sydney. Yeah, it was between this or the modern Secret Wars, but I wanted to read this first. Having read it, it's alright. It's very clearly just kind of a big, exciting crossover for merch reasons. You know, there's some decent character moments here and there. I like Doctor Doom's characterization here. We also get the introduction of Volcana and Titania. I didn't realize Titania debuted here. But, you know, she's a fun addition to the team. And Volcana is, like, weirdly attracted to Molecule Man early on. They're a couple. It's very, like, their relationship is well, it's something. It's something, I guess. Really, the novelty here is just seeing all these heroes and villains in the same place at the same time. There's some pretty great action, some interesting character choices here. And, of course, you know, the debut of the symbiote for the first time for Spider-Man, which is pretty cool, I guess. I think it drags in the middle, personally. I don't love everything that they got going on, but I love the back of the book. There's some bonuses here. You get some artwork, some other stuff. You know, some interviews, a bunch of concept art. It's cool. It's cool. Would I recommend Secret Wars? Yeah, I recommend it. If only to experience it as part of Marvel's comic history and nothing else. It's fun. Like, it's a fine story. It's not bad by any stretch. I'm sounding very negative, but it is alright. It's a pretty alright read. It's fun. If you're looking for deeper, introspective character moments, it's not really here. It's not really here. Sorry. Iron Man, War of the Iron Man. This was another one of those library books from that old library. I read this a lot as a kid. This was the first Iron Man I owned. And it's generally just Iron Man ends up in a Eastern European nation, and there are a bunch of antagonists who have co-opted his tech. Pretty classic Iron Man setup. Um, yeah, I don't know. I remember I really liked this as a kid, but now I'm struggling to think about this one in particular. I really enjoyed this character here, Svarog. I don't want to give away what's going on with this particular character, but there are some secrets there that I find interesting. You get a little Doctor Doom in the book, which is always nice. You get some angst. That's fine. It's like a fine book. I'm really struggling to say something about this. I don't know why, but it's an okay Iron Man book. This is fine. And now we come to the final Marvel pile, starting with Spider-Man Brand New Day. This is the big, exciting relaunch from Dan Slott. So you get some introductions. You get some Hammerhead. Hammerhead gets a surprisingly decent amount of play here. We get an origin of sorts for him. And you get Spider-Man fighting Kraven the Hunter's daughter or some bullshit. And you get Norman Osborn's Thunderbolts show up for a little bit. I really like how Norman is written here. I think that Slott and Bendis both write a really good Norman. I love how slimy he is. But what fascinates me about Norman from this time is that he's presenting himself as very calm and, intelligent and whatnot. But he's very clearly just a crazy person. He's very clearly just an insane man, and I love that. You get the debut of Anti-Venom here, which is pretty cool. Anti-Venom as a character, I think, is kind of underappreciated. And you get some Thunderbolt stuff going on. You get Green Goblin coming back. It's a really solid, I think, reintroduction for Spider-Man. This might be my favorite stuff that Slott has done with the character. I don't know, it's really good. It's a really good book. Very strong work from pretty much everyone involved here. It's an effective relaunch. It's pretty good. Kraven's Last Hunt. This was a birthday present from like an old high school friend in... I think I was 16 or 17 when I got given this. This is a great book. Everyone says that this is one of the best Spider-Man books, and it's for a very good reason. It is a haunting tale. Like a haunting tale. If you're a younger Spider-Man fan, maybe wait a couple years for this one. It gets brutal. Between the violence, some of the imagery here, with Peter kind of awakening from the grave. That's such a hard image. Also, we get I think it's Mike Zeck on art here. Mike Zeck's art is always a blessing to me. His art is so, vivid at times, which I always love. Oh, yeah, there's the cover. But it gets pretty dark. It gets fucking crazy. This is the first time I realized truly that Spider-Man comics could go to some darker places. And obviously the ending of this book is it's very well known for how fucking, bleak it can be. But it is at the same time a remarkable portrait of Spider-Man as a character, but also Kraven the Hunter. This is also, coincidentally, Kraven's best outing in anything. And I don't know why they keep bringing him back. Yeah, here's the final. Just the sequence of events here is so impactful. You don't see the shot itself. I think it's a very tasteful way to depict Kraven shooting himself. It's good. It's a good book. I recommend this for any Spider-Man fan who hasn't read it. I recommend this for any comic fan who hasn't read it. I recommend it for people who like Spider-Man. Just read this book. It is really good for a reason. Spider-Verse. This is the original Spider-Verse. I say original in quotations because the original Spider-Verse was obviously the 90s animated series finale. But this is where the movies came from, and you get some fun multiverse stuff. Really, for me, I think a lot of the book is good. There's some great character stuff here. There's some good interplay between the different spiders. Superior Spider-Man gets a lot of play. Miles is involved pretty heavily for a bit. It's a good book. I just don't love that the villains are the inheritors, because I don't love Morlun as a character. I think Morlun is one of the most dog-water Spider-Man villains. Outside of his first appearance, he's a very uninteresting character, and his family are arguably just as boring, if not more so. Because at least Morlun has a personal connection to Peter Parker, but the rest of them, not a lot going on here. They are good as, an insurmountable threat to overcome, but really, you could have swapped them out for any other generic group of villains, and I think the story wouldn't have changed all that much. They are unremarkable villains, which is a shame, because I think the rest of the book is pretty good. There's some stuff with Silk that I don't love. I don't love Silk's weird dynamic with Spider-Man here, but overall, I think it's a good read. It's worth it, I think, if you're a Spider-Man fan and you haven't read this. And also, this is where the movies came from, so I mean, It's interesting as a piece of history in Spider-Man's long lineage. But, it's alright, I guess. I really just don't love the Inheritors. I don't love the Inheritors. I think they're very weak villains. Have a look at Naked Spider-Ham. Yeah, no. The danger is there, but the intrigue isn't, for me. They are so devoid of anything interesting about them. Edge of Spider-Verse. This is just a collection of little stories before Spider-Verse. You get some Spider-Man Noir, you get some Spider-Gwen. I think this is actually where Spider-Gwen debuted. There is also notably a story in here that's pretty fucked up about a version of Peter who turns into, like, a Spider-Man and eats people. I'm trying to find that. Hold on. It's a little hard to do this one-handed. Hold on. Yeah, there's, like, a version of him that turns into a fucked up spider creature and eats people. And it's a brutal story. It's very edgy for the sake of being edgy. I think this story could work if it was, like, multiple issues. But because it's one single story, they cram in a bunch of shit. And so as a result, it just comes off as edgy slop. Like, oh, his Uncle Ted abuses him. Oh, everyone hates him. It's just very over-the-top, dickish, and mean-spirited. I love the body horror aspect of it, but that's really kind of the highlight. But the Spider-Man Noir stuff is fun. You get a version of Mysterio, which I like. And you get Spider-Gwen involved, which is pretty fun. The art style for her book, great. Great stuff. Very frenetic with the colors and the text. It's a fun read. It's a fun lead into Spider-Verse. Spider-Man Birth of Venom. This covers the introduction of Venom and, Eddie Brock. You get a lot of great moments here. A lot of good artwork. Puma gets some play here. If you like Puma, good for you. You get some good stuff with Mary Jane, and then eventually you get, Venom. And you get some Venom solo stuff, which is pretty good. I really have a fondness for this era of Spider-Man. The Venom introduction is pretty effective. And a lot of the interpersonal character drama going on here is great. There's a storyline with Aunt May. She's dating this guy who has some shady business, and gambling and the mob and stuff. And I think that's pretty effective. It's some good character drama here. It's a really solid book. The Michelini, McFarlane era. Crisp stuff. Oh, what's that? You thought we were done? Just kidding. I trolled you. We have more. So this is the Marvel Ultimate graphic novel collection. This was a series that I don't think is going on anymore, where it would collect, like, big, iconic Marvel storylines and put them into this little format here. And so you get, the first 6 or so issues of a storyline, you get some introductory context, some interviews, and a lot of fun stuff in there, and they were very cheap at the time. I think they were like $12 to $15 each. Now, you can still kind of find them in some bookstores, but they are a little harder to find these days. And these were really what helped get me into reading Marvel Comics when I was 10 to 13, because they were affordable and they were nearby. So with all that being said, let's start with this stuff. New Avengers Volume 1 Breakout. I think this is kind of weak, to be honest with you. I don't love what's going on here. Electro is kind of the big villain for a bit of it. I like this design, and I like what they do with him here, but Electro is such a nothing character, in my mind, that it doesn't quite hit as hard as it should. I think the team is very fun, and I think the banter between them is decent, but for me, in particular, Spider-Man just kind of annoys the fuck out of me in this book. A lot of his quipping, in particular, gets very old very quick. The team dynamic is fun enough. Oh, fuck it, that's a bit naked, don't mind that. But yeah, I don't know, it just doesn't really hit me. Maybe later on it improves, but I don't love this introduction. New Avengers, it's just whatever, I don't know. Astonishing X-Men, Dangerous by Joss Whedon. Don't like Joss Whedon very much, as I'm sure most people don't, but his X-Men is pretty good. This is pretty great stuff. Yeah, so each of these, they begin with a little a recap of what's leading up to this. So this is the story where it's revealed the Danger Room is actually sentient and some kind of Shi'ar technology, and it lashes out against the X-Men. You get a lot of great moments here. This is the moment where, you get Cyclops being like, I want this thing off my lawn, and then he blows up the Sentinel. This is great. I just love the simplicity of this image. It conveys the power of Scott Summers really effectively without doing too much. And then you look and, it's destroyed. It's great work. Kitty Pryde is given a lot of good development here as well. She's really well realized here. And Danger, I think, is such a great villain for this storyline. She's so scary here. She's a genuinely scary presence. You know, you just don't know what she's up to. And she's fucking it up. And she's beating the shit out of everyone. It's so great. It's so tense and dramatic in the way that Danger, early on, Danger doesn't have a physical form. And so she's, like, manipulating things from behind the scenes. And the scene with her and Wing is just haunting. It's genuinely haunting. I don't know why I was reading this at age 11. This is fucked up. But really good. Really good. Avengers Forever Part 1. This is a really great story. It involves different Avengers being plucked from specific points in time. So you have a version of Goliath, but then you also have Yellow Jackets. You have two Hank Pyms, and you have a disillusioned version of Captain America, and you have Clint Barton, but he's like kind of a classic archer, and you have Songbird, and so you have these specific versions of the characters plucked out of time, having to work together to fight with Immortus, and then Kang is there, and then you get some Squadron Supreme stuff going on. There's a lot happening. There's time travel, and alternate realities, and fucking Richard Nixon. There's a Skrull. It's really great. It's a really great, fun, sort of pulpy adventure with a lot of dramatic stakes. And I have never read the rest of this story, because as it says here, part 1, for big storylines, they do multiple parts. I never got to read part 2, and it bugs me to this day. I don't know how this story concludes, but for this alone is a pretty fun read. Kurt Busiek does a great job here with the Avengers. I've heard good things about his Avengers run. I'll have to look more into it, but that's really good. Speaking of part 1s, Avengers vs. X-Men part 1. Unlike Avengers Forever, I don't really feel the need to seek out the rest of this one. This was fun when I was like a kid, because it's like, it's the Avengers and the X-Men fighting each other. Now, it's very superficial. The conflict between these two feels incredibly kind of forced and obnoxious. It revolves around Rachel Summers. I'm so fucking stupid. It wasn't Rachel Summers, it was Hope Summers. It was Hope Summers. I'm sorry. And no one really knowing what to do with her. And, the Avengers and the X-Men just kind of provoke each other the whole time, and it's just a lot. It's a big slap fest. It's an excuse to have a big old punch off, and the action is fun. I like seeing them fight, but I don't care for why they're fighting at all. Everyone here is fucking stupid. They're all just stupid. Whatever. Yeah, I have no real need to search out the rest of this one. Excuse me. Apparently, in the Ultimate Graphic Novel Collection, this goes up to like 3 volumes. I'm good. Bro. I'm good. X-Men Twilight of the Mutants. This covers X-Men issues 50 to 59, and this is the introduction of Polaris and Havoc, as well as some Sentinel stuff. Yeah, the early era of X-Men is rough. I think it's a rough read. It's not terrible, but it's not great either. It's generally pretty forgettable. You get Eric the Red here too. I don't give a shit. Living Pharaoh. Yeah, I don't know. The original X-Men is nowhere near as good as what it would become in the 80s and the 70s with Claremont and everyone else involved. It's fine. What the fuck have they got Angel wearing? Yeah, I don't know. I don't really care much for early X-Men. And we're going to move on now to Uncanny X-Men Second Genesis. This is where X-Men gets good for me and for a lot of people. You get Giant Size X-Men, which introduces a bunch of new characters from across the world. Colossus is from Russia and all that jazz, Nightcrawler Germany, and they go to Krakoa, and they get into some other mischief. The team dynamic is very strong early on. You get a lot of fun little character interactions here, and some decent usage of their powers and abilities. Claremont and Len Wein, Dave Cockrum, they do great work here. I would say this is probably the jumping on point. If you want to start reading X-Men, start from here, honestly, because it gives you enough context to be able to understand where everyone came from, but you don't need to read the original X-Men that much, I don't think. Read it if you want to, but I would skip it. For whatever reason, this is like an imprint or whatever of the Ultimate Graphic Novel Collection, and each of these focus on a specific superhero. The Marvel Mightiest Heroes. I only have 2 of these. This is the Invisible Woman one, and it mainly focuses on the storyline where she's manipulated by Psycho Man, and you get Malice. So this is the first appearance of Malice. All the Marvel Rivals gooners out there, Malice is in this book. I think it's a really solid read for the most part. I don't love how they beat Malice by Reed just being really sexist towards her. Don't love that. But everything else I think is really fun. There's a great sense of scale here and of adventure. A lot of peril too. They got to rescue Franklin at one point. She-Hulk gets a lot of play in the latter half when they, go into the psycho realm or whatever, the quantum realm. And she's kind of traumatized, and you see her coming back up. I think it's generally pretty effective and pretty interesting stuff. But, it's good. I like it. I don't love John Byrne. I cannot stress this enough. I don't like John Byrne that much, but I do like his work on Fantastic Four, and this is a pretty great start. Unfortunately, the second of two of these I have is about Cyclops, and the stories here are very mid. You get Cyclops Odyssey, which is a very generic story about Cyclops doing some bullshit. The villain here is a new character whose name I don't even remember. The artwork here, I don't love it. Everyone looks gross. It's a solo Cyclops adventure, which I should love because I love Cyclops, but here it just doesn't hit. It just doesn't hit at all for me. It's unremarkable, it's generic, it's forgettable. The second half of the book is like X-Men First Class. We get some of Cyclops' origin, and that's fine. It's fine enough. It's a retelling of his early days as well. It's fine. Unremarkable. This is a very disappointing read. I love Cyclops, and a book focusing on him would be good, but this isn't it, Chief. This isn't it. Fantastic Four Authoritative Action is part of Mark Waid's run of Fantastic Four, and I think it's great. I think it's incredible stuff. You see the Four kind of reluctantly have to take over Latveria for a little bit, and Reed and Doom switch bodies at some point. There's a lot going on here, but it is really compelling, and it is really poppy and fun, but there are a lot of elements to it that I think work really well. Reed and Doom's dynamic is fully just on display here perfectly. You get a dramatic, shocking moment with the death of a member of the Fantastic Four, and no spoilers, but it is a great read, and I want to get into the rest of Mark Waid's run. I've read the first chunk of his books. I need to finish it. Doctor Strange, Nameless Land and Nameless Time. This is just a bit of Stan Lee, Steve Ditko, Doctor Strange goodness. It's fun, it's psychedelic, the artwork here is incredible. My mind cannot fathom how people can draw some of this. There's some incredible coloring here. Unfortunately, the main storyline is just sort of... it's there, I'm not really reading this book for the story, I'm reading it for the artwork. And at times, it gets fantastic. You get some Doctor Strange and Dormammu. Nick Fury's here for a little bit, that's fine, I guess. But really, ultimately, I'm here for the mystical wonder of it all. And boy, does this book deliver on that front. The Amazing Spider-Man Coming Home. This was the first real, comic that I actually owned. This contains the J. Michael Straczynski stuff. You get the introduction of Morlun and Peter being a teacher. Peter being a teacher is the highlight of the book for me. It just makes sense for his character. He goes back to his old high school, and he's a substitute teacher there for a little bit. That is my dream Peter Parker career path. And you get Ezekiel here as well. Ezekiel is a fun, sort of mysterious character. He's very charismatic and likable, but at the same time there's a hint of almost danger around him. He knows so much about Spidey and his origin. I think that's really compelling. I think the book asks some meaningful questions about the potential origins of Spider-Man. And I think it's all really good stuff. And of course, you get the introduction of Morlun, and this is the only time in this character's history that Morlun has been interesting, because he's this strange, sort of unknowable threat. He's like a vampire, but he's like this weird creature, vampire thing, and he's absorbing radiation and a bunch of other stuff. And he's just this brutal, unrelenting force of nature. The final showdown with him and Spider-Man, it's just a long chase sequence as Spider-Man tries everything he can think of, and Morn's not feeling any of this. It's remarkable stuff. J. Michael Straczynski does incredible work on Spider-Man. Spider-Man's quips here feel pretty natural and authentic. There's no cringe here. I regularly find myself reciting the little bit at the beginning where he's talking about having Velcro pockets. It's really good. I adore this book, and I'm so glad it's held up, because I read this for the first time when I was about 10, and, it's been a while since I've been 10. I'll say that much. But it is just such a great read. And the artwork here, too, is it's terrific stuff. It is Spider-Man at his possible peak. I adore this. And, and as the story goes on, Spidey gets more rough and beaten. You can clearly tell this is having an effect on him. Oh, shit, it's drooping a little. It's just a remarkable book. It's so fucking good. I cannot stress this enough. Admittedly, I don't love the mystical elements of Spider-Man's origin, but I think here it's handled effectively because it's not definite. You know, Ezekiel poses questions to us, and I think it's up to us to kind of interpret how it goes. But there's a lot of great elements to this book. Even Morlun, a character who I think is reprehensible dog shit, is actually really great here. Mainly because you don't know anything about him. He's just this thing that shows up and beats the fuck out of Spider-Man. You don't know who he is or what his deal is. He's just this monster, you know? He's an inhuman monster, and I love that so much about him. And it only really works here, because the rest of his appearances doesn't really land. But yeah, this is fucking incredible. This is so good. And if this is what we ended this part on, it would be great. Unfortunately, we have to end it on Ultimates. Superhuman. This is volume 1 of the Ultimates. I read this when I was 10. My ass should not have been reading this at age 10. This is Mark Millar on Avengers. The ultimate version of the Avengers. I do really like this intro here. Set in World War II. You know, you get some banter between soldiers. You get to see Cap in action. I love the design for Cap here. I love the design here. The helmet, the coat, the shield. I love the design. Brian Hitch's art is incredible. I adore his style of how he depicts human faces here, and a lot of the action feels very cinematic. You can almost picture this as like storyboards for a movie. Unfortunately, I think the writing is where this book is let down. They're clearly trying to attempt some sort of satire or commentary on superheroes and kind of the political nature of government figures and the military, you know. And I think it does occasionally work. And there's some celebrity culture stuff in here, you know. It's all right. I fucking hate Ultimate Giant Man's costume. I mean, I hate Ultimate Giant Man as a character, but I hate his costume too. It's just, what is this? This is a CW. This is a CW costume. What the fuck am I looking at? But yeah, it's just, you know, for every interesting idea that's presented here, like Thor, for instance, Thor is not explicitly the god of thunder here. You know, he has powers, but it's not clear if he's actually the son of Odin or if he's some kind of fucking sort of schizophrenic or what. I think that's a really compelling part of his character here. But then you also get Ultimate Hank Pym being like the fucking worst guy ever, you know, and Ultimate Bruce Banner is so weaselly and pathetic and unlikable. The Ultimate Hulk is just fucking insane. He's talking about eating people and fucking people, and he's not gay, and the Wasp flashes him. And it's a shame. I love the art. Like, I love this image isolated, you know, just the coloring, the gross olive eye and the veins on him. Like, it looks great. Brian Hitch's art is incredible, but then the writing just really ruins it. Like, Jesus Christ. You know, fucking Hulk talking about how he's gonna eat Iron Man, and he's horny for Wasp. It's just very awkward, uncomfortable. Fucking Captain America kicks him in the dick. That's pretty funny. But, like, every time it tries to get serious or it tries to get interesting, you know, Millar just can't help himself but be a little too edgy and shocking in some areas. Like, I'm not gonna show it, but the final section with Ultimate Hank and Janet is just fucking awful. It's awful. I remember literally reading it when I was 10 and putting the book down and, like, kind of crying low-key. It's very upsetting. And, like, it just doesn't work. For every good and strong element of the book, the art, some of the characters, like, I think Ultimate Tony is pretty likable here. He has a brain tumor instead of a heart injury, which, fair enough, I guess. And there's this scene where Cap goes to visit, you know, old Bucky, and I think there's some great stuff here. But it's just sandwiched between shit, basically. Just shit. At the same time, I think this is the best of the Ultimates books, because the rest of it's not good. Yeah, sorry, we had to end it on that note. But, yeah, this is the Marvel collection. Yeah, I probably could have organized it a little better for this. I'm gonna organize them back on my shelf in a minute, but yeah. Hey, everyone, welcome back. Yeah, so, as you might have realized by now, this video has gone on fucking really long. Holy shit, I didn't mean for it to get this long. I'm so sorry about that. Yeah, I'm splitting this into 2 parts. Part 2 will cover the DC side of things, as well as the brief non-DC comics that I have as well. I didn't realize I'd have this much to say on any of these, but yeah, It's yeah, long video. Sorry about that. If you're interested, give this a like, please, dear God. I'm gonna need it. Yeah. Stick around. Part 2 will be coming sometime. Yeah. Enjoy. Subscribe.